Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I will call the meeting of Town Council for Town of the Pas to order for April the 9th, 2018. First item on the agenda is everybody was just shocked at what happened on Friday with the Humboldt Bronco hockey team. I know myself personally, I have spent many thousands of kilometers riding the buses with hockey teams. And it's always the safest place you feel, so you never expect something like that to happen. There's been a lot of attention paid to it, a lot of concern, a lot of condolences, and so with everyone's permission, I think that I'd like to offer up just a moment of silence in respect for Humboldt Broncos. Thank you. Just before we adopt the agenda, I would like to let everyone know that the information on special service levy is coming up in the next meeting after this one tonight, but it won't be held during the council meeting. It's part of the committee of the whole. And that's the exact same thing on the police issue as well. It's number one on the agenda, but it's not on this agenda. It's on the next one that starts in about, if we get through this quickly, we should be able to be done, I think, in about a half hour or less. So just hang in there, enjoy the show. You're free to partake if you so choose. I will then ask for an adoption of the agenda, item number 2.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Forward, that resolve that the agenda be adopted as presented.
Questions? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, confirmation of minutes, item number 3.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting of the Committee of the Whole of March 26, 2018 and the public hearing of March 28, 2018 be hereby approved. All statutory declarations having been complied with.
Any comments? Call the question. All in favor? It is carried. Will just be a moment. Citizens period. Anybody who has a comment or would like to address council? This is a great opportunity.
Yes, I think it's a shame that for the number of years that I...
You need to come up. I can't. This is a horrible room. I can't hear you.
I think you can hear me.
No, I can't really.
It is a shame that every year we have that great big puddle right across from Michael's Corner Store. We just had the big derby this weekend. I'm sure all the people that came into town really appreciated seeing that swimming pool. And today, just coming here at the meeting, both lanes are with water. And it's very nice to see Cathedral having all the snow removed, but not on the main drag.
I admit I thought the same thing as I went swimming through it earlier today. I appreciate you making your comment. There's a combination of things. These guys have schedules. They have things that are going on. Perhaps there's a water main break that we're not aware of that they're working on. And as fast as they work on it, the snow is melting rapidly, rapidly, rapidly. I can't remember a year where that wasn't flooded out.
But I'm sure that they could have removed the snow earlier on, that there wouldn't have been all this mess.
Randy?
Just to comment on that, there was a bit of an issue with the drain being frozen. They did drain the did thaw the basin, and now they believe there's a water break that we're having a hard time locating.
And my property is going to be a swimming pool again. So after the meeting, I'd appreciate if you go by down the back lane and look at the property, both Huckalucks and mine. Thank you.
Okay, I will do that myself, yeah. Anybody else? All right, item number 4, item number 5, CAO report.
The following is an update as it relates to various departmental reports to April 2nd. Museum installed temporary exhibit called Breaking Borders. They also hosted school group and Rotary Exchange student visits. They received confirmation of funding through Young Canada Works for summer students. Snow removal took place around the schools during spring break. We try and accommodate that when there's no students in school. Several water breaks and frozen services. Sewer jetting and cutting down ruts in the back lanes is ongoing, using the boiler for catch basins and valves. Opening up of outfalls in anticipation of spring. Deep well cleaning underway. Recruitment of term position for the airport operator at the airport. Summer student positions closed this week. We are having a lot of problems with the applications. They're down from previous years. In speaking with other employers throughout the community, they're having the same issues. Mediation with USW is to be held next week. Working with Legion regarding Chase the Ace being held at the arena on April 14th. The ice is finally out at the arena for the season. We've actually been working with the employer of CKPI, and they're helping us with some of our troubleshooting for our rink this year, so thank you to them. Final grant support report has been submitted to Recreation Opportunities Program. Recreation completed and submitted monitoring forms for Healthy Together Now funding program. 7 fire calls for the last 2 weeks of March 6th. There were 6 fire alarms that were false calls and 1 small kitchen fire. 2 building permits were issued. 9 members plus acting fire chief completed the 44-hour hazmat training course. Regular training nights are averaging about 16 to 20 members. Special service levy presentation was held. There was a very good turnout. Assistant CAO is preparing for upcoming elections, and there's been lots of media questions, which is good. It's getting out there. Review of Planning Act amendment changes. Preparing for 2018 financial plan. We're still having issues with shortage of staff in the Recreation and Maintenance Department. Letters and agreements has been sent out to all the purchasers of the properties for the transfer of lands for the lake lots and also for Wood Acres. Airport sweeper is now on site and being put together for the initial testing, and planning is still underway for the emergency exercise at the airport.
Any comments? Okay, we'll move on to bylaws. 6.1 Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Act.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore. Whereas the Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Act came into effect on August 8th, 2016, and whereas the MBEA provides municipalities with the ability to enforce parking violations through an administrative penalty scheme, as the provincial court will no longer be a venue for resolving parking violations, therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 4570, being a bylaw of the Town of the Pas, to provide for an administrative penalty scheme for the enforcement of all Town of the Pas parking bylaws in accordance with the Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Act, be read a first time.
Any comments?
This was discussed in January at a committee of the whole meeting, and it's to bring us in line with the provincial act.
Right on. Anything else? Call the question. All in favor? It's carried. 6.2 Provincial Offense Act. That's a hard word to say.
Actually, designated officers first, 6.2.
You're right, designated officers. I get to say it again. Thank you.
6.2.1.
Yeah.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Forward. Whereas the Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Act, MBEA, came into force August 8, 2016, and the Provincial Offences Act, POA, came into force on November 20, 2017. And whereas the Town of the Pas chose to work with both on these acts, and whereas both of these acts require a bylaw which appoints designated officers, therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 4571, being a bylaw of the Town of the Pas to establish a designated officer position within the Town of the Pas, and to repeal bylaw number 4493, be read a first time.
Any comments? Call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Provincial Offense Act.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Forward, whereas on November 20th, 2017, the Provincial Offences Act, POA, came into force, and whereas the POA replaces the Summary Convictions Act and establishes clear and effective processes for prosecuting offences under Manitoba statutes, regulations, and municipal bylaws, and whereas the POA provides for a simplified procedure for municipalities to enforce bylaws by issuing a ticket for a violation and prosecuting the person through provincial court. Therefore, be it resolved that bylaw number 4572, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to provide for the implementation of the Provincial Offences Act, be read a first time.
Missed a spot.
Any questions, comments? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed, if any?
Oh, sorry, I'm in favor, not opposed. Slow on the draw.
All right, 6.4, animal control.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Forward, whereas on November 17, 2017, the Provincial Offences Act came into force, and whereas the Town of the Paw bylaws must be in compliance with the POA, therefore be resolved that bylaw number 4573, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to provide for the regulation and control of animals within the Town of the Paw and to repeal number 4481, be read the first time.
Any comments on this one? Call the question, all in favor? That's carried. Derelict vehicle, 6.5.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore, whereas on November 17th, 2017, the Provincial Offences Act came into force, and whereas Town of the Paw bylaws must be in compliance with the Provincial Offences Act, therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 4574, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw with respect to the storage of unregistered or derelict vehicles, and to repeal bylaw number 4496, be read a first time.
Any comments on this one? Moving the junk. All in favor? That's carried. Uh, 6.6, unsightly property.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore, whereas on November 17th, 2017, the Provincial Offences Act came into force. Because we have done these almost once.
Sadly, no, wait till next meeting when there's two readings for this.
Second and third.
Whereas the Town of the Paw bylaws must be in compliance with the Provincial Offences Act, therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 4575, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw, to maintain property and to regulate nuisance, derelict, abandoned, and unsightly property, and to repeal bylaw number 4506, be read a first time.
Any comments on this? We are cruising along. All in favor? It is carried. Streets and sidewalks, 6.7.
I'll do that one. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore, whereas on November 17th, 2017, the Provincial Offences Act came into force, and whereas Town of the Paw bylaws must be in compliance with the Provincial Offences Act, therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 4576, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw pertaining to the regulation and cleaning of streets and sidewalks, and to repeal bylaw number 4576, be read a first time.
Any comments on this one?
Does this include our back lanes? No, just side.
I don't think so.
Well, that's good catching us like that.
Violations for streets and
Yeah,
sidewalks.
it's for violations for
Yeah,
the requirements.
so it would be a homeowner's street and sidewalk.
Street and sidewalks, the ones that are paved, not the ones that are gravel?
It would, I'll just, as an example, would be if you're moving your snow into the neighbor's yard, there's fees and fines for that. So under the new legislation, that's why we're going through probably about 8 to 10 bylaws. We have to amend our bylaws to include different acts through it. So the bylaws are pretty much the same, but this just gives us authority to provide fines for it.
Okay.
Brian?
Just something on a point of clarity. In the resolution, we use the abbreviation POA, but it's being said out loud, the Provincial Offences Act. We should probably be spelling it out in our records as well, because not everybody would understand what it stands for. You know, it took me a while to pick up on that, but
If you just put in brackets after the first line, Provincial Offences Act, and then in brackets POA, it's no different than when you have a contract and then therefore known as, you know what I mean? But maybe just for clarity,
oh yeah.
just for housekeeping for the second and third reading, can we do it for the second and third reading where we just add that bracket so that we therefore know that in the next line, POA means.
For sure,
provincial
and
offensive
had
act.
we been aware that this was a desire of council ahead of time, we would have changed it, so we'll do it for next
sure,
one.
For sure.
Well, if I may,
Sure
I
you
think
may.
it's important that for clarity, anytime we're doing anything, abbreviations usually tell only half the people something, the other half don't know what they mean until somebody says it out loud. So if we can just type it out so it's spelled out, then
Thanks for that
it
clarification, for sure.
simplifies it. And that way, everybody knows and there's no questions after the fact.
Any other comment? Call the question, all in favor? It is carried. Six point 8, noise bylaw.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rock, whereas on November 17th, 2017, the Provincial Offences Act came into force, and whereas the Town of the Paw bylaws must be in compliance with the POA. Therefore, be it resolved that bylaw number 4577, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw pertaining to noise, and to repeal bylaw number 4511, be read a first time.
Any comments on this?
So just to summarize, the Provincial Offences Act came into force in November, which gave us the ability and capability to fine people for things, or maybe changed a little bit how people were fined and that sort of thing. So all of these sub-bylaws are to just put us in compliance with that and to try to help keep our community safe and healthy.
Thank you. Call the question, all in favor? It is carried. All right. 6.9, fire prevention and emergency service.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rock, whereas on November 17th, 2017, the Provincial Offences Act came into force, and whereas the Town of the Paw bylaws must be in compliance with the POA. Therefore, be it resolved that bylaw number 4578, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to provide for a firefighting, fire prevention, the related regulations of fire and other hazards, the adoption of the Manitoba Fire Code, and for establishing, continuing, and operating an emergency fire service, and to repeal bylaw number 4561 be read a first time.
Thank you. This is weighty. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? It's carried. All right, 6.10, vehicle for hire bylaw.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rock, be it resolved that bylaw number 4567, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to provide for licensing and regulation of vehicles for hire in the Town of the Paw, and to repeal bylaw number 4533 be read a second time as amended.
Any discussion on this? Call the question, all in favor? It is carried. Third reading. Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Rock, seconded by Councillor Cost. Be it resolved that bylaw number 4567, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to provide for licensing and regulation of vehicles for hire in the Town of the Paw, and to repeal bylaw number 4533, be read a third time and be passed.
Any discussion on this?
Other than it's a new regulation within the province that allows for vehicles for hire, and there's a requirement that we make the adjustment with our bylaws to accommodate and provide a process, so that's what our bylaw does.
This is the third reading, I'm sorry.
I just want to commend our staff because they were actually ahead of the curve on this and had the bylaw prepared much in advance of the legislation coming down, so there was really minimal changes that needed to be made to our current bylaw.
Jen spent a lot of time on that.
I know you guys spend a lot of time doing this, and not everybody always appreciates it, so I just wanted to point that
All right, to record a vote. Councillor Commodore.
Yes, sorry.
Councillor Forward. Aye. Councillor Gibb is absent. Councillor Cross.
Aye.
Councillor Rock.
Aye.
Councillor Zelinski is absent, and I vote aye. It carries 5-0. All righty, we are going to go into then committee. 7.3.1, building on half lots.
Moved by Councillor Rock, seconded by Councillor Cross. Whereas the town's current zoning bylaw prohibits building or rebuilding on half lots due to the bulk requirements, and whereas there are a number of half lots in the town that could be built on, which in turn would increase the tax base, and whereas to amend the zoning bylaw would take time, it is not an easy process. Therefore, be it resolved that council agree to allow the building on half lots to be dealt with through the variation process on a case-by-case basis until such time as the zoning bylaw is amended.
Any discussion? Councillor Rock.
It just opening up the opportunity for those that own half lots or live the wish to do something more with it. There will be a method to come in and get authority and at least ask for it to rebuild or do whatever they wish or build on an empty lot.
I think it also, there's a lot of derelict buildings that are on half lots that have been vacant, abandoned, and it's a great place for folks to gather who shouldn't be gathering. So hopefully we'll get to see a few more homes built, pay a little bit more property taxes. Anybody else? Margaret?
I was just saying, I love the idea about building on half lots because it'd be very interesting to see the smaller houses out there. Not everybody needs to build a big house. So having a smaller house, you can build up or long, and it would be interesting, again, to see what people's imaginations can do.
Call a question, all in favor? And it's carried. Uh, 7.4.1, payroll and accounts.
Moved by Councillor Rock, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that council authorize the following accounts. Pay period number 6 in the amount of $102,888.64. General checks number 2561 to 2641 in the amount of $224,769.51. And ETFs in the amount of $58,823.18. And ETFs are electronic transfer.
Indeed they are. Any questions? Well, a question, all in favor? It is carried. 7.4.2, utility deficits.
Moved by Councillor Rock, seconded by Councillor Cross. Whereas in 2014 there was a utility deficit in the amount of $387,034, and whereas in 2015 there was a utility deficit in the amount of $21,970, and whereas the Public Utility Board has ordered that the town apply to recover these deficits as part of the town's water rate increase application. Therefore, be it resolved that council approve a rate rider be applied to water bills in order to recover the utility deficit in the amount of $409,004 for the years 2014 and 2015.
Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? It is carried.
There'll be time again. There's a second citizens period for you to ask questions and stuff, but we just need to finish our business first. She wanted to make a comment or ask a question, yeah.
7.4.3, operating deficit.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rock, whereas there was an operating deficit in the amount of $223,428 in 2015, and whereas there was an operating surplus in the amount of $99,576 in 2016. And whereas the Municipal Act allows municipalities to apply to recover prior year deficits as part of current year assessments. Therefore, be it resolved that Council authorize an application to the Manitoba government to include the net deficit recovery of $123,852 on the 2018 financial plan.
Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? It's carried. 9.1, request for extension of the financial plan.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rock. Be it resolved that council request an extension of time from the Minister of Finance to submit the 2018 financial plan to May 31st, 2018 in accordance with section 1625 of the Municipal Act.
Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? It is carried. All right, this is our second opportunity for citizen spirit. It's a dumb rule, but it's a rule. When we go into committee of the whole, no one's allowed to speak. Well, we have people that are on the agenda that will be speaking, but no one will be allowed to speak. So if you want to talk about the levy, if that's what you're here to do, this is your opportunity.
Or I think
Or
you have a question.
yes, and Irene too, sorry.
Something.
Yes.
Is there a possibility that who's ever doing the bleeders, if the homeowners can shut them off and turn them on themselves, and the town can just give us a call because they're not being shut off and turned on when they should be?
They need to stay on for a little bit longer, I know that much.
Yeah, they stay on.
I know, but if they're running all summer,
Well, they're not. The town keeps track and shuts them off.
I don't think so.
Well, they come to my house and shut it off. They come to my house and turn it off.
Feel free to call our engineering department and then you can arrange that with them, if that's legally something they're able to do. But legally, we're not sure if you can actually do that on your own. And you're not actually being charged for it, just to make sure you're aware of that also.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Ivan?
Ivan Young, 70 Gardner. I got a question, maybe people can answer it or not, but you just passed bylaws that you can recover. You charge tax, homeowners on their property tax for the water utilities. You've just put through a big increase, but I wonder how much of that was caused in the year that everything froze. There was one year that there was major things freezing.
That was
sure
prior.
that was 16.
Yeah.
And I believe that cost, I heard Patrick Avenue, 400,000, somewhere along there.
That was prior to 2014.
So my question is, during that time, was the town preheating the water? I've heard rumors that they didn't have a ticketed person to run the water, so the water wasn't heated.
That's not true.
I've also heard, that's why I'm asking, because
So the answer to that question is no, the boiler has never shut
I've
off.
also heard that there's bleeders on the end of Patrick Avenue that weren't turned on.
In 2014, when that happened, you mean?
That's what I've heard on the street. And I mean, there's rumors, I don't know whether they're true or not, but
I don't recall. I just recall that in 2014, we had a record number of freeze-ups, and so even with bleeders on, people's lines were freezing up.
because if we as citizens are paying for town incompetence, it needs to be addressed.
Absolutely.
That's a fair point.
And I believe my information was, and I've heard it from town employees, that there was no ticketed person. So they didn't run the boiler, and also somebody went away on holidays and forgot, and it was elected.
That's not true.
Not the case.
Well, I
Just
can't
to
argue with
confirm
you.
that initial freeze up on Patrick, because I was here at the time also, that freeze up started beyond the dead end. It started probably 4 to 6 houses before the dead end, and it kept going because we couldn't get the water going beyond there.
Is the dead end not right at the very end of the street at a manhole?
But it was midway through the street where it started, where it actually started freezing up.
Because
wasn't
it
at the
wasn't
dead
bleeding
end.
at the end at the manhole.
That's not exactly what happened, but I'm sure our engineer would be more than happy to share that with you.
And one other thing to point out is it's the Public Utility Board that orders us to recover a deficit. So I guess one of the issues was that in their opinion, we weren't charging enough for water, which is why we had to increase our rates. So then they then ordered us to recoup the deficit that we had incurred from 2014 and 2015. And unfortunately, there's one pool of money that we can go to do that. So that's why we.
I totally understand that. My reason for bringing this is to clarify whether there was incompetence on a town employee's performance that caused us taxpayers $400 and some thousand on that.
I would say
Thanks.
absolutely not.
I would say absolutely
Well,
not.
we do have a nice thick file, and honestly, I'm sure the guys would be more than happy to walk you through it. It's maybe a little dry to read, but at least it gives you an understanding on how it all came about, and I'm sure he'd be more than happy to sit down with you.
Okay.
Thanks, Ivan.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We will move on to committee reports. Museum Board, Councillor Rock.
Museum Board meets tomorrow evening.
Okay. Chamber of Commerce, Councillor Commodore.
Meeting next week.
Sustainable Forest, Councillor Rock.
We don't meet till May.
Citizens on Patrol, Councillor Commodore.
Okay, we had a meeting on last Tuesday. We're getting ready for the 25-year celebration on April 27th. We have an increase in travelers to our community and an increase of mischief. It's that time of year. So if everybody just could watch out and call the RCMP if you see anything. We all have to be very vigilant. The members have seen an increase, the COPP members, sorry. The COPP members have seen a big increase on people on their cell phones and texting, running through red lights, rolling stops. And I would like to make one point. It's, yesterday I went out as being a COPP member and getting my little hat and seeing that we are here. I picked up the garbage on 2 blocks of downtown. I picked up 2 huge bags of green garbage bags and 1 huge bag, the big recycling bags, of sherry bottles and liquor bottles. And that was the 200 block and the 300 block, just the front, and then behind 235 Fisher and in between there. That's where I got all the sherry bottles.
Okay. Community Development Corporation, Councillor Gibb.
We're doing an update in 10 minutes.
Yep. Gotta ask. Destination Marketing, Councillor Cross.
We had a meeting on Thursday. We are going to be having a live influencer coming from Travel Manitoba. So pretty much somebody who comes and does a video, takes pictures, does a blog, and markets the town through social media. So they're likely going to be coming in the month of August. I don't want to steal all of Kim's thunder because I'm sure she'll be talking about that in her presentation later on. And then we also talked about the whole process of paying grants. The committee does want to keep the authority to write the checks and stuff like that. And we're willing to follow whatever, process needs to be followed, what makes the town comfortable. And in kind of speaking with our former CFO, who at the time was here when the whole process was put together, she said she believes that the idea was that it would kind of follow the same process as the museum. So I'm not 100% sure what that process is, but I think she said that was kind of the idea, or so she thought. So I don't know if that's something that we can look into, or...
I think Graham's working on a
Okay,
policy for that.
perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Library Board, Councillor Forward.
We haven't had a meeting since our last council meeting, and there's one coming up this month, although I'm not sure that we've solidified a date. Our administrator is away, but the library continues to function as normal.
Okay. And no meetings held with the Kelsey Planning District or the Kelsey School Division Committee. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Perfect. All right, we'll move into, maybe there's a lot of paper. We should probably stay where we are.
Should we stay over here?